74, getting close to the end of this beautiful Masechet Avodah Zarah. Top of the page at the Mishnah Kedosha. The previous Mishnah on page 73 teach us that Yain Nesech, the wine that used for libation, is prohibited, and also prohibited the ta'arovet bekol shu. So since we learned the previous Mishnah, the whole concept of Nesech wine prohibits a permissible wine with which it mixes even kol shu, even in the smallest amount, this Mishnah lists other prohibited items that similarly forbids a mixture in any amount. So Tosfot Yom Tov explains that the mixture of our Mishnah are different from the mixture of the previous Mishnah. There, the Mishnah dealt with a prohibited substance that became blended in a permitted substance. For example, Nesech wine fell into a kosher wine. Our Mishnah speaks of a mixture in which a prohibited item became lost in a larger group of permitted items. For example, a barrel of Nesech wine was lost among many barrels of kosher wine. Elu asurim ve'osrin bechol shehu. So the following items are prohibited for benefit, and they prohibit the items with which they become mixed even in the smallest amount, which is even if they make up just the smallest percentage of the mixture. So the truth is, no matter how many permitted items there are, if one of these prohibited items get lost among them, it is forbidden to use any of them, since it might be the prohibited one that is being used. The reason for this will explain later. But we said Yain Nesech, a Nesech wine, which is if a barrel of a Nesech wine became lost among 1,000 or more barrels of permitted wine, all the barrels are forbidden. The Avodah Zarah, obviously, is the idol, which is the statue that had been worshipped, become lost among 1,000 permitted statues. The orot levuvim, animal hides with hard opening, and we explained the previous, if you remember, in the Mishnah on Perek Sheni, the same law Meiri said applied to any offering made to an idol. And we said Veshora Niskal, an ox that was sentenced to be stoned to death, for example, because he killed a person. So an animal that kills a person is executed by the court through stonings. That's the first parak in Sanhedrin. Once the animal has become condemned to death, it is forbidden to have benefit from it. So, for example, to eat its meat or to feed it to dogs, even if the owner slaughters it, become the court stones. That's the Gemara in Bava Kama chapter 4. So if a condemned ox become mixed with other oxen, none of them may be used. If the ox was slaughtered before it could be stoned, and its meat become mixed with permitted meat, all the meat are prohibited. So they said ve'egla rufa. Egla rufa, it's the decapitated calf, which is if a person would be murdered. So the famous Deuteronomy chapter 21, a person was murdered and the murderer cannot be found. So the elder of the nearest town must perform a procedure of the log procedure of egla rufa, in which they take a calf in a valley and beheaded it and declare that they bear no responsibility for the murder. The calf is prohibited to benefit once it's brought to the valley. And so if the calf or its meat become lost among many other permitted calves or pieces of meat, all are prohibited. V'tziporei metzora, the birds that metzora, the person who have this leprosy, brings to purify himself. And metzora is a person who has a tzarat type of skin disease that makes him impure, the tamei. You see it in the book of Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 13. When the tzarat heals, he must undergo a process of purification. That's Leviticus chapter 14. So the process begins with him bringing two birds, one which is slaughtered and the other one which is eventually set free. So the slaughtered bird is prohibited for benefit. So if it become mixed with other slaughtered birds, all of them are forbidden to benefit. Us'ar nazir, and the hair of the nazir. Ufeter chamor, the firstborn of the male donkey. Uvasar bechalav, meat cooked with milk. V'sa'ir mishtalech, and the he-goats that sent to Azazel in Yom Kippur. V'chulin shenishchatu ba'azara, an unconsecrated animal that was slaughtered in the temple courtyard. Harei elu asurim. These are all prohibited. Ve'osrin, they are ta'arovet, and they prohibit that which mixed with bechol shu, even in the smallest amount. That is, even if they make up just the smallest percentage of the mixture. So ordinarily, when a forbidden item gets lost among permitted items, it becomes nullified in the majority. If it's lost among items that its own kind, or in 60 times as many permitted items, it becomes lost among them not by its own kind. And all the item may be used, that's the Yordea 109. However, the prohibited items listed in our Mishnah do not become nullified, rather the prohibition remains in effect. So therefore none of the items in the mixture may be eaten or used because any of one of them might be forbidden one. That's the whole concept, davar shebaminyan. Anyway, Gemara. So the Gemara said, Tana Maika Chashiv. So when we're dealing with this Tana at the Mishnah, so the question is, according to what definition or criteria does the Tana who teaches the Mishnah recount cases? If we go by any item that's significant enough to consider individually, which therefore cannot be nullified in a mixture, even if the very large majority of permitted item. Lipnei nami chatichot nevela. So he may also cut off an unslaughtered animal that's dead, like carcass. If he talk here about the prohibition against driving benefit, so this also we can mention what's coming, the chametz bepesach. That chametz bepesach, unleavened bread in Pesach, is not davar chashuv, right? But it's prohibited to drive benefit. So why the Tana mention only dvarim chashuvim? Omar Rabbi Chia bar Abba v'itema Rabbi Yitzchak ben Achfcha, Hatane tarte itle. The Tana and Mishnah hold two important items. When they combine, they avoid the bitul. Two criteria. Davar shebaminyan, which is any item that it's count, ve'isure hana'ah. So only one that have these two, Rashi said, is not mitbatel, is not nullified. It's independent, chashuv ba'atzmo. Davar shebaminyan, or mitzad isur hana'ah. So he said, so the Gemara asked a question, if that's the case, ולitnei egozei perech, v'rimonei badan, the davar shebaminyan v'isur hana'ah. So the Tana teach us egozei perech. So egozei perach, the Rashi said it's the name of places. But here they talk about perech nuts, a type of nut that has a brittle shell. And rimonei badan, it's a badan pomegranates from badan. As these fruits are considered significant. And when they grow during the first 3 years after the tree was planted, which is the orla, they belong to the category of items that are counted and from which driving benefit is prohibited. So the Gemara said, Ha tana lahatam hara'ui leorla orla hara'ui lechilei hakerem kilei hakerem. So here the Mishnah taught that the case where in the Tractate Avodah, those items on which the prohibition of Ola applies make the entire mixture forbidden by imparting it to a status of Ola, while those to which the prohibition of diverse kinds planted in a vineyard applies render the mixture forbidden by imparting to this status of diverse kinds planted in a vineyard. So therefore it's unnecessary to mention those cases here. So those who are familiar with baking, cooking, you know that, and that's most in the Farshim hold, that the loaves, bread that made out home usually are larger, bigger. In that Mishnah in Tractate Avodah, Rabbi Akiva added and he said, Kikarot shel Baal Habayit is a part of the list of Dvarim Chashuvim, of things that they are carries important, that their ta'arovet prohibited bekol shehu, at any amount. So therefore the Gemara asks, if those kikarot made out of chametz, and again how proper it is because we are Erev Pesach, so we should prohibit their ta'arovet bekol shehu, at any amount. So he said, Velitni kikarot shel Baal Habayit linan chametz b'Pesach. So therefore there's leavened bread on Pesach. That the question is why the Tanaina Mishnah did not enlisted also the prohibition of the chametz b'Pesach, because in this type of prohibition it's a possibility that this isur will be of importance because it's kikar shel Baal Habayit. So Gemara said, Man shama de'amar la Rabbi Akiva. Who is the Tana that said it, that kikar shel Baal Habayit carries of importance? Is Rabbi Akiva, and that Mishnah in Tractate Avodah. So therefore, it's not the question, hat Tana lehatam, Rabbi Akiva musif af kikarot shel Baal Habayit. We learn over there that Rabbi Akiva added in Tractate Avodah, chapter 3, Mishnah 7, to the list the loaves of the homeowner. So therefore, the Tana did not need to repeat it here. So even over there, the Tana deal with kikarot of that prohibited because it's kilei hakerem, the diverse kinds, and not because of chametz b'Pesach. But the Meforshim explains that you don't need to repeat and teach us the halacha because the din is the same din in Pesach. Obviously, there is a Tosfot Zvachim, page 72, that expand on this. And as far as the halacha, soon you see the several sources, but Rov Poskim hold that when it's come to the davar shebaminyan, that's sufficient t'nai in order to avoid the bitul. But let's get to the Mishnah. So harei elu asurim, said that these are forbidden themselves, and any amount of them prohibited when it's the mixture. Osrim tarovet b'kolshu lemute mai, lemahut davar shebaminyan v'lav isura naha, inam lemute isura nara v'lo davar shebaminyan. So they come to exclude any item that is counted but from which deriving benefit is not prohibited, or to exclude item from which driving benefit is prohibited but are not counted. And so it means that Mishnah come and teach us, Rashi explains, only things that have these important two conditions, davar shebaminyan and isurei hana'ah, that's not mitbatel, that's not nullified. But if you have any issue that have only one of the conditions, so it's batel berov. Anyway, there is a toast for dimor matchil lemi'utei. Anyway, let's go to the Mishnah. So we learned previously in the previous Mishnah that even a small amount of nesech wine that mix into a large amount of permitted wine prohibits the entire mixture. So here the Mishnah cites a view of another Tana who rules that there is a way to benefit from the mixture. Yain nesech shenafal leבור. So you have a bor heter, you have a cistern, and nesech wine fell into a cistern containing permitted wine. Kulo asur bahana'a. The entire mixture is prohibited for benefit. So Rashi explained to us that since the nesech wine does not become nullified by the kosher wine, the sages treated the kosher wine as if it too had become nesech wine. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel אומר, יימכר כולו לעובד כוכבים, חוץ מדמי יין נסך שבו. Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel hold that the entire mixture may be sold to a idol worshipper, minus the value of the nesech wine in it, because the way that the Mefarshim explains, you see it in the commentators here. The idea is that since he did not receive any money for the nesech wine in the mixture, the money for the rest of the wine is permitted. He may also sell the wine to a non-Jew for the full price and then destroy the money that corresponds to the value of the nesech wine by throwing it into the sea. For example, you see in your Yomi in 134, Seif Bet and the Shach, Seif 9. You see it also in Tosfot Yom Tov in the Mishnah. So basically, according to Rabban Shimon Gamliel, the sages did not treat the kosher wine as if it too had become nesech wine. Rather, the permitted wine in a mixture is forbidden only because we cannot benefit from the mixture without also benefiting from the nesech wine in it. So by selling the mixture, the mixed wine minus the value of the nesech wine on it, or by destroying the money of the nesech wine, we are able to benefit from the permitted part of the mixture without benefiting from the nesech wine. Basically, the halacha follow Rabban Shimon Gamliel with regard to ordinary wine of idolater, which may not have been used for a deity for libation, and the Tana Kama with regard to actual nesech wine. Gemara. Amar Rav, הלכה כרבן שמעון בן גמליאל חבית בחביות. We follow halacha according to Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel only in the case of barrel wine used for libation, because when that barrel of wine of libation became intermingled with barrel of permitted wine. אבל לא יין ביין, but not when is this ta'arovet is a mixture with wine, yain nesech combined with a yain heter. So the din is that the entire ta'arovet asur b'ana'a, prohibited to drive benefit. Ushmuel amar afilu yain beyain. Shmuel said that halacha k'Rabban Shimon Gamliel, even the mixture of wine with yain, which means that you have a combination of yain nesech with yain mutar combined together, you can derive benefit from the part of the ta'arovet. That's basically Rabban Shimon Gamliel. וכן אמר רבא בר חנא אמר רבי יוחנן, והלכה פלו רבן שמעון גמליאל, אפילו יין ביין, וכן אמר רב שמואל בר נתן אמר רבי חנינא, אפילו יין ביין, וכן אמר רב נחמן אמר רבא בר רבו, אפילו יין ביין. So the final halacha is, אמר רב נחמן, which you know in the Talmud, Rav Nachman was one of the luminary, most important decision makers. So he said, הלכה למעשה, יין נסך, יין ביין אסור, חבית בחבית מותר, סתם יין, אפילו ביין, יין ביין מותר. So here we have the Rambam, הלכות מאכלות אסורות, chapter 16, and you see it also in Shulchan Aruch Yerodea 134. If wine used for a libation, meaning for some idol-worshipping deity, and that wine is mixed with permitted wine, it is prohibited to derive benefit from any of the wine. If nondescript wine of idol worshipper was mixed with permitted wine, it is prohibited to drink any of the wine, but it may be sold in its entirety to a non-Jew, and the money received for the nondescript wine of the non-Jew must be cast to the Dead Sea, the Yam HaMelach. Similarly, if a barrel of wine used for a libation was intermingled among other barrels of wine, it is prohibited to drink any of the wine, but it may be sold in its entirety to a non-Jew, with the money received for one barrel cast into the Dead Sea. And that's basically the concept we learned earlier. You see more on that in your Yoredea in 134. Page 74b, 74b, משנה הקדושה, גת של אבן שזיפתה עובד כוכבים, מנגבה והיא טהורה. In the era of the Mishnah, taking a pitch and put a coating that was smeared, they put it together on the wall of a wine press, and that's the way they seal it. So since pitch has a very strong smell, very strong odor that could ruin the flavor of the wine, it was common to rub a small amount of wine on the coating after it was applied to reduce the effect. That's the way Rashi explained. This creates a problem where an idolater was the one who coated the wine press, since the wine he used was forbidden as nesech wine. So now the Mishnah teaches that what must be done in such a case to make the wine press usable. So they said, gat, if an idolater coated a stone wine press of a Jew with pitch, in which case we must assume that he also rubbed nesech wine onto the coating. So they said, menagva vehi torah, the Jew may wash it and dry it, which is the wall must be washed with water and then dried by applying ashes to them. That's the way they used to do it, which actually absorb the water. And Tiferet Israel explained that by doing so, you take the ashes and they absorb the water, and then washes them and dry it again. So the Mishnah said, menagva Torah, the Jew may wash it and dry it, and it then considered cleansed from the forbidden wine. The wine press may now be used to produce kosher wine. Since the wine press is made of stone, it does not absorb the wine in the pitch. So therefore, it is enough to remove the wine from the coating by washing and drying it. Veshel etz, if the wine press is made of wood, Rabbi says, yenagev, he should wash and dry it to cleanse it, as with a stone wine press, because the wooden walls of the press also do not absorb wine. B'chachamim omrim, and the sages said, yiklof et hazefet, he must first remove the coating of pitch and then wash and dry the surface of the wine press. So that's what Yom Tov explained. If he then washed to seal his press with pitch, he will have to have a Jew do it for him, or make sure that the idolater does not apply any wine. It's obvious. A wooden wine press requires a thicker coating of pitch than one of stone, and since this thicker coating absorbs more wine, the sages hold that washing and drying alone cannot completely cleanse the press from the nesech wine. So later you see in the Gemara that the sages agree with Rebbe that wooden materials do not absorb wine. Their concern is with the coating, because since there is a greater amount of wine in the thicker coating of wooden wine press, it cannot be completely removed by washing and drying, and some of it will eventually seep into the permitted wine. So therefore the coating must be removed. Even then, the wooden walls of the press must be washed and dried because of the concern that some of the wine seep through. V'shel cheres, if the wine press is made out of earthware, אף על פי שקלף את הזפת, even if he removed the coating of pitch, הרי זו אסורה, it's still prohibited since earthware is highly absorbent. It must be assumed that the forbidden wine was absorbed not only into the coating of peat, but also into the earthware walls of the wine press. The press is therefore prohibited for use even after the coating of peat has been removed. Tosfot Yom Tov and other Meforshim explain the only way to cleanse an earthware wine press is to fill it with water and let it soak for 24 hours, and then remove the water and fill it with fresh water and let it soak for another 24 hours. So the process is then repeated a third time. After 24 hours, periods have passed, is no longer ben yomo, right? So the press is permitted for use. When the press is cleansed, in this matter, there is no need to first remove the peat coating, as long as the press has not yet been used to produce wine. That's the notion of Tosfot Yom Tov. Okay, let's go to the Gemara. So the Mishnah tells us that gat made out of Evan, the stone wine press. So they need to be dried. So Amarava, so the reason the Rava explained that this requirement to cleanse the wine press, davka zfata, aval darach ba lo. That's specifically when the idol worshipper leaned with pitch. But if he only trod on his grapes in it without leaning it with pitch, that's not required. So the Gemara said pshita, that's obvious. Zfatatnan, ma'uletem oradin afilu darach ba, vaydiktane zfata ocha demilchat ktane. That's the way that they explain Kamash Meran. So they come to teach us that it's not the case. Igadam amarav davka zfata, אבל darach ba lo sagala benigub. Pshita zfatatnan, ma'uletem oradin afilu darach ba, vaydiktane zfata ocha demilchat ktane. Kamash Meran davka zfata, אבל darach ba lo sagala benigub. And the Rambam tells us in Ilchot Machalot Asurot, chapter 11, if a idol worshipper leaned a stone of wine press with pitch and then poured wine over the pitch as part of the process, or if a Jew leaned a wine press with pitch and poured wine over it, and a idol worshipper touched the wine while there was enough wine to render them moist, the wine press requires cleansing, and subsequently is permitted to treat on grapes there. You see it more in Yomi 138. Here is a similar incident. A fellow came before great Rabbi Chia. So he said to him, give me a man who will purify my wine press that I purchase from idol worshipper. So basically make the hechsher of my wine press. There is a Ravid and a Ramban here. Don't have time. Anyway, Omar le-Rav, Zil ba'dei v'aved lo matzavachat le'ale beit midrasha. So go with him and see that you conduct yourself in such a manner that you will not cause people to complain against me in Beit HaMidrash. Azal chazeh da'ava shiat tfei, amar avadai beniguv sagila. ועד דקה זלוות חזה פילה מיטוטי וחזה דאב ולא מלאך אמרה אמר הלא סגי בלניגוב אלא בקילוף. It's just peeling. והיינו דאמר לחביבי, and this is what my uncle חביבי meant when he said to me חזד לא מצווח לה במדרש. It's like an expression. תנו רבנן, הגת והמרחץ והמשפך של עובדי כוכבים רבי מתיר בניגוב וחכמים אוסרים, ומודה רבי בקנקנים של עובדי כוכבים שאין אסורים, ומה ההפרש בין זה לזה? זה מכניסו בקיום וזה מכניסו בקיום, ושל עץ ושל אבן ינגב, ואם הוא מזופפים, אסורים. So the Gemara challenge from the last Torah of the Braita, והתנן, we learn במשנה גת של אבן ששפתה עובד כוכבים מנגבה והיא טהורה. We learn that a stone of wine press that idol worshipper lean and with pitch, one may cleanse it, and it's pure. So it means that according to everyone, the way that we cleanse, that the sufficient for the gut of the Evan, even if it's mezupat. So why the Braita said that it's not enough beniguv to dry it? So the Gemara said matnitin delo darachba. The Mishnah is talking here when the idol worshipper did not tread on his grapes in it, versus the Braita de Darachba. The Braita referring to the case that when the idol worshipper trod on his grape in it. המרמר, הגת והמרחץ והמשפך של עובדי כוכבים רבי מתיר בניגוב וחכמים אוסרים. So he said that wine press of a lathe and the funnel that belong to idol worshipper, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi permits by cleansing, and rabbis, the sages deem them forbidden. So the Gemara asks, "Va'anan tnan shel cheres, afal pi shekalafta zefet harei zo asura." Learn that the earthquake, even if peel off the pitch, this press is forbidden. So Rav Asefta de Matnit Atat leRabanan. The last part of the Mishnah was follow the view of the Chazal, the sages. Darash Rav na'ava artechu. So when it's come to hechsher of the gut, they put a hot water. If one had a tank of wine used by a worshipper, he must scale it in order to render it permitted for use. So here is a story. By the way, those who have the Gemarot, the modern Gemarot, you see a lot of charts there that give all the machlokot. Here's a story about the wine vessel. כי הרבה כאבה משדר גולפי להרפניה. So when Rava will dispatch empty cage to Harpania, so it's a place called Harpania by use idol worshipper. Sachif lehu apumaihu, he will turn them over. Vechatim lu abirtzayu. So he placing them on their sacks on the opening, and seal the sacks on the brims, so the idol worshipper carries will not be able to use them for wine. כסבר כל דבר שמכניסו לקיום, אפילו לפי שעה גזרו ברבנן. He maintained that when anything that's used to contain wine for storage, even the wine may be stored only for a very temporary time, they said there's the degree that is forbidden to use for use, though it had contained wine. So the Gemara asks, "B'memen how does it cleanse the wine press or utensil used by idol worshippers for wine?" Rav amar b'mayim, Rabbi Bachana amar be'efer. So Rav said, cleanse it with water. Rabbi Bachana said, cleanse with ashes. Rav amar b'mayim v'lo be'efer. So if you wash it with one, that's considering cleansing and not using ashes. Rabbi Bachana amar be'efer v'lo b'mayim. So you mean to say that you can clean the ashes without using the water? How that can be? That's Rabbeinu Yehonatan explains. So now the Gemara explains and elaborate on this, the intent of the machloket between Rav and Rabbi Bar Chana. Ela, this is the understanding of their disputation. Page 75, Rav amar b'mayim v'hu adin le'efer, Rabbi Bar Chana amar be'efer v'hu adin le'mayim. So, meaning each of them hold just the first stage, the shalav rishon of niguv, the first stage of drying it. Velo pligen, it's not really a machloket, it's not really a disputation. Ha bir tivat, Rabbi Bar Chana that precedes ashes to water, he speak about a wine spread that it's damp wine spread, that it's wet. So that statement that first it must be moisture with water and then cleanse with ashes with regard to a dry wine press. So that ha bi abeshta. So that's the difference between when it's dry, so he put first water, and then he used ashes. So the Ravid, see also in Mukhe Yosef, that they said that both of them dealing only with the very beginning of the process. And here is the word of the Rambam, which I would like to conclude. Rambam, Hilchot Ma'achalot Asurot, chapter 11. Concerning utensils that were determined to require cleansing, if they are damp, they must be first wiped and ashed, and rinsed with water, and then wiped again with ashes and rinsed them. And if they were dry, they must be moist with water first, then wiped with ashes, then rinsed with water, then wiped with ashes again, and rinsed again. These practices follow all the opinions according to the version of the sages from Pumbedita, which is cited last. And the first interpretation cited by Rashi, according to which Rav and Shmuel did not disagree. Now in Shulchan Aruch Yerodea 136, the Tur, citing the Rama and the Rosh, rules in accordance with the version from Surah, which Mitzvah Shem, time is running out, we have to continue tomorrow. But anyway, because in matters of rabbinic law, the halacha follows lenient opinion, in Mitzvah Shem tomorrow we'll continue here.